Okay, I'd like to reconvene the meeting to regular session. Good evening, everyone. I would like, in honor of her last meeting with us, to ask our student board member, Grace Lee, to lead us in the flag salute tonight.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Grace. Okay. In terms of our closed session, the board has not completed discussion on the items, and so we'll meet again in closed session following regular session, and the board will report out on any action taken during closed session when the meeting is reconvened to regular session this evening. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and I understand, Dr. McLaughlin, that we have an adjustment.
We do, and I apologize for the last minute adjustment, but thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board. Staff would like to recommend that we do pull under consent item 714, resolution 2021-22, number 38, approving an increase in statutory school fees imposed on new residential and commercial industrial construction pursuant of Education Code Section 17620 and Government Code Section 65995. There was a clerical error, and there's a incorrect document that's been placed in there. We'll still convene the public hearing regarding these developer fees today. We'll extend it to our June 14th meeting, where we'll bring the item back for consideration by the board, and we'll finish the public hearing.
And we'll get the appropriate documents.
And we'll have the appropriate documents. We'll have it all lined up for June 14th. So that's our recommendation. So we would amend the agenda to remove consent item 714.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Move approval.
Thank you, Marilyn. Second? Thank you, Vicki. Do board members have any questions? All right. Grace, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? All right. Approval of the agenda is passed. Next is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12th, 2022 regular meeting?
A motion to approve.
Thank you, Chester. Second? Vicki? Do board members have any questions? Grace, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, do board members have any correspondence that they'd like to acknowledge? Okay. Moving on, we get to Grace and her student board member report. So I'd like to invite Grace Lee to give her final school report. And following your report, I'd like to invite you to come to the podium for a special recognition so that we can finish off your career here in this. Oh no. There we go. I feel like somehow that was symbolic. You're finishing your career. Cue lights. So we can honor your time with us here.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. McLaughlin, President Klatzker, board members, and distinguished guests. This is my student board member report for May. I can't believe this is my last board report. I feel like just yesterday I was sitting here learning how to mute and unmute my mic, but tonight's the last day I'll be doing that. As for overall Student Advisory Council updates, we got the chance to meet the 2022 to 2023 ASB presidents for all school sites at the last SAC meeting. They are a group of amazing students, and I can't wait to see what they accomplish next year. We also interviewed our 2022 to 2023 student board member and vice chair. Troy wrapped up activities for Teachers Appreciation Week last week. ASB has a lot in store for seniors, including the Reflection Awards Night, picnic on the last day of school, and Senior Week. Senior Week is a week dedicated for seniors where there will be spirit days and various activities. Sunny Hills ASB is busy planning their stag dance with the Lights Out theme. Their boys volleyball team is also advancing to CIF semifinals, so ASB members went to the game to cheer on their fellow Lancers. Buena Park wrapped up their ASB class elections. They are also planning various senior-related activities, such as Senior Signing Day, which was last Friday, and Senior Sunset, which is this Friday. Fullerton is having a last dance on Friday, May 27th. The theme is Aliens versus Cowboys, and it'll be fun to see people dressing up for the theme. ASB also has various senior activities such as Senior Awards Night, Grad Night, and the Senior Breakfast. La Vista ASB had prom, which was a huge success. They sold over 120 tickets and even had a prom court. ASB also coordinated a blood drive with the Red Cross, and they're continuing to plan themed spirit days each week. Harbour wrapped up their spring fling-grams, where students could buy ring pop grams for each other. They're also hosting Mr. Harbour, where senior boys are going to be competing in a pageant-style competition for the title of Mr. Harbour. Sonora just announced their class and executive cabinets. They also had a senior signing day in the quad for student athletes. And finally, ASB is also selling tickets for senior day, which will be at Knott's Berry Farm. Thank you, and that concludes my last student board member reports.
Thank you, Grace. Okay, can you come up here with us?
Mind if I start?
No, go ahead.
All right. Is this okay? Well, good evening again, President Klatsker, members of the board, and community. It is our great pleasure tonight to honor our outgoing student board member, Grace Lee. We're so excited to honor you tonight, and you're absolutely right. What a fast year. And being my first year and your year on the board, it's gone by like this, and people forget all the things that we've dealt with this year. We started this year in full mass and COVID and trying to understand coming back from school. I remember seeing Grace at a football game earlier in the year, running around, getting crazy with your friends again. Just a ball of spirit and energy. But I do want to leave with this message, and really a lot of people don't see the work that you did in leading this district, but you changed history in this district in our dress code. You've updated our dress code from 1978 to 2022, and that takes leadership, and it took a lot of time, and we're so grateful for you, just your input along with the board, but really how well you stepped into this leadership role and helped redesign something that will be here in a lasting legacy for this district. So I just want to say personally thank you for being a part of the board and the governance team. I know the board members are going to say some great words about you, but it's been a real treat serving as my first student board member and my first year as superintendent. So congratulations on what's next, and thank you for all you did. Yeah.
So I just have to acknowledge how amazing Grace is, not only as a student, but it's not easy. She gets stuck in a room with us a lot. And sometimes she's put on the spot and asked to contribute to conversations. And we have this annual conference called CSBA, which is the California School Boards Association. And Grace came with us. And she sat at breakfast with us one morning and engaged in conversation with us, which is not always easy for kids to do when they're sitting at a table with a bunch of adults who are looking at them. And Grace she just handled herself with such grace and just ease in the conversation. And I just really want to recognize that because that's a skill in and of itself. So Grace, bear with me because there's a lot to read because you're such a wonderful girl. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to thank you for being such an outstanding student board member. The board and I appreciate your leadership of the Student Advisory Council, and we value the input and insight you provided the board on educational issues. We have a proclamation that we'd like to present you, and the proclamation states as follows.
We have visual aids.
Whereas Grace Lee has served as student board member and chair of the Student Advisory Council during the 21-22 school year, and whereas the Board of Trustees appreciates the student insight provided by Grace Lee to the board's decision-making on educational issues, and whereas the Board of Trustees appreciates Grace Lee's positive leadership of the student leaders throughout the Fullerton Joint Union High School District, and whereas Grace Lee has completed her student career at Buena Park High School in an exemplary manner, and whereas Grace Lee joins the list of past student board members in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District, now therefore be it proclaimed that Grace Lee is recognized as the leader among students and a valued advisor to the Board of Trustees. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Trustees' best wishes accompany Grace in the pursuit of higher education. Proclaimed by the Board of Trustees of the Fullerton Joint Union High School District, Orange County, California, on this 10th day of May, 2022. So, in addition to this proclamation, we have a plaque that is permanently displayed in the boardroom with the names of all, it's right behind you, the previous student board members, and Grace's name has been added to the plaque right there, third from the bottom on the far right. So Grace, on behalf of the district and the Board of Trustees, we would like to present you with a gift. In a Stanford bag, in case you guys did not know, Grace is going to be leaving us to go to Stanford University in the fall. Right? It's inside, you'll find a memory box with notes from the board members, the superintendent, cabinet members, and principals. We hope you have special memories from your time with us, because we certainly have special memories with you. And we really value your contributions to the district. Also in the box is a flash drive filled with pictures from the SAC Symposium and the SAC Community Service event, and a miniature-sized copy of the revised student dress code for you to keep as a reminder of the great job you did in leading this effort with your fellow classmates. So board members, is there anyone that has anything that they'd like to say to Grace?
Grace, thank you very, very much for representing the students so well and serving as the liaison. And it's a really key role to have a student voice at a school board, because school, student, kind of important connection there. It's interesting that President Klatzker mentioned the breakfast at the California School Board Association meeting, because I was going to do that. Instead, what I'll say is that what many people don't know is that you're also an amazing journalist. And you were one of the few students who were part of the Los Angeles Times student, I don't want to say the word liaison, because you were actually doing work and reporting. And you've brought those same skills of preparation and inquisitiveness and thinking to your role here. And I have no doubt that the skills you've developed as a journalist, a student, and as a member of this board will serve you well as you move on to Stanford. And thanks again for all of your work and just being a delightful part of this board.
Now, I want to thank Grace for her participation on this board. Her input has given us an insight to what students are thinking. Because adults and students, especially teenagers, think very differently. And without your input, we would be clueless without what our students are looking for. So thank you so much for being stuck with the group of us for for this past year. I was going to use the old word, but but thank you so much, and congratulations to graduating from high school and going to Stanford. It's an accomplishment. And thank you for everything you've done.
Hi, Grace. When I first got on this board, you sat by me, and we had our mask on. And when you took it off, I was like, "What's your name?" And you were like, "I'm Grace." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you look so different." Anyway, I was just like, wow. I sat by you for that long time, and I never got to see your face, but I'm glad we got the mask off. You're amazing. You are fantastic. You're smart, and I appreciate everything you've done for our students. And I'm looking forward for you to come back and let us know how you're doing at Stanford, and congratulations. Thank you.
Actually, can I say something? Yeah. Actually, that day I did ask Vicky. I said, "Who's the sub for Grace?"
Well, and Vicky said to me, "Who's that?" So that was funny. Aren't we glad we're rid of those things? Yeah. Right. Gosh, I don't know what you say after all the great comments. I think it's difficult. It's difficult to be a leader, but it's particularly difficult to be a leader of leaders. And that's exactly what the student board member does as being a member of the Student Advisory Council. And we don't always get to see you in action, but I did at the SAC Symposium. And what I was struck by that day was your calm leadership. I mean, I saw things happening, and I could see that you were making them happen, but you weren't bustling. You were just doing it. So I guess to me, you've represented two things that are really important to me, and it's calm leadership and the ability to be a leader of leaders. And as with the rest of the board members and everybody here, we're so proud of where you're going to school and the accomplishments that you've made, and I know you'll be a great success. I've been the good fortune to see a lot of student board members come through this table or through this position. They've been amazing. I mean, you represent the wonderful students that are in our district, and you have done that so well. So let us know what you do stay in touch. Let us know about school and what you do after you graduate. One of our fairly recent student board members went on to become a pharmacist, and I found out recently that she's married. She has 2 children, and I love to hear stories like that too. So keep us in your mind and let us know what you're up to. So good luck and congratulations. Thank you.
So I'd like to invite Grace up to introduce her family.
So I have my family with me here today. I have my mom, Esther, in the front row, and then my dad, Sam, and then my brothers, David and Isaac, in the second row. Yes, I just want to say a quick round of thank yous. First, my family for always supporting me, and then our board members from attendance at our SAC events and your support. It's honestly been so supportive, and I've felt so supportive in your excitement for all our events. So thank you so much for coming to our events, making our students feel like they're leaders and just everything in that aspect. And Dr. McLaughlin, like I said, I've had the honor of serving on the board as my first year with Dr. McLaughlin, and from speaking at our SAC events to answering any and all questions. Thank you so much for being a source of leadership, and I think I speak for all students when I say that you've been an inspiration for us, and thank you so much for being a person that we can turn to in the district. And then I also want to say a quick thank you to Dr. Berg. So Dr. Berg was actually the one who encouraged me to apply for this position, and through this position I've learned so much about empathetic leadership, event planning and everything, and I wouldn't have those experiences without me actually applying through the recommendation of Dr. Berg. This position has taught me so much about, like everyone said, talking with adults and learning more about social skills, and it's honestly been the highlights of my high school careers and these experiences, and I know that I'll carry these experiences into college and into the workforce and in life beyond. Thank you so much, everyone.
And this isn't for Grace, it's more for her family, but we do have a picture of her that we did display that will go with you too. So you need another picture of Grace? Here you go. Congratulations, Grace. We are so grateful for your service. And I know you now have one more thing to do, right? Yes. Right, so Dr. Zehner's going to come up. All right, thank you. You can put that down.
Thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board, and Dr. McLaughlin. I have Grace up here, but I would also like to welcome up our Student Advisory Council Vice Chair, Atticus Kim. Give him a round of applause. These are the 2 leaders of all of our students. We have about 13,000 students in our district, and Grace and Atticus, you have represented us so well, and we are so proud of you. And as you are both aware, a couple weeks ago, we went through a pretty arduous process of trying to select your replacements. And out of about 13,000 students, we got about 17 students into a room for interviews with the outgoing ASB presidents, the incoming ASB presidents, and got to ask them a multitude of questions. And then we had quite an extensive conversation. These 2 went back and forth. It was like watching a tennis match as they debated who would be the best replacements for them. And we were finally able to come down to 2 incredible students. And Grace, I'd like to turn it over to you if you could introduce our incoming student board member.
Yes, so I'd like to take the time to introduce our 2022 to 2023 student board member, Jacqueline Wu from Sunny Hills.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I'm really excited and grateful for this opportunity to be serving as a student board member next year. And with me today are my family, my sister Ashley, and my parents, my mom Sunny, and my dad Billy. And I also want to say a quick thank you to Mr. Paris, my ASB advisor, who also supported me to apply for student board member and just guiding me throughout this whole process. Thank you.
And now I'd like to bring up Atticus to introduce the SAC Vice Chair.
Hello, everyone. My name is Atticus. I would like to introduce our 2022 to 2023 SAC Vice Chair, Mia Shui.
Hi, my name is Mia, and I'm from Troy High School, and I want to thank you guys for this opportunity, and I can't wait to work with Jackie, and as well as like the rest of SAC. And with me today is my mom in the fourth row, Kathy, and I'm very excited for this opportunity. Thank you.
So both Jackie and Mia will be sworn in as the 2022-2023 Student Board Member and SAC Vice Chair at the August board meeting. And at that point, Jackie will be giving her first school report in the September board meeting. So let's give them one more round of applause. Congratulations. And I just want to conclude by thanking Grace and Atticus. This was a year we all came back from COVID, and they were able to navigate some very turbulent, ever-changing times. We're able to have 250 students for the SAC Symposium. They did a wonderful community service event for our special needs students. And I will always remember the comments that your peers gave you during the interviews, and they kept saying, we need students like Grace and Atticus who are approachable. And I thought that was one of the highest compliments. You are high-achieving students, but they saw you as someone they can turn to and express their ideas, and that's what these positions are all about. So thank you very much, and that concludes our report.
Thank you, Dr. Zehner. Thank you, Grace and Atticus, for all of your work this past year. Next on our agenda is school reports. So I'd like to call on Superintendent Dr. McLaughlin to introduce our site principals for their reports.
All right, thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board. It is our concluding report of the school year. We'll get one more in June, so we'll see what's going on at the sites. Let's start with Dr. Minster.
Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin. President Klatzker, members of the board. I knew he was going to do that, by the way. All right. I am happy to report that we are well into our testing season. IB, AP, and Cambridge A-level exams are all running smoothly within the span of a little more than a month. Students are testing in our library, main office, conference rooms, North Gym, South Gym, Performing Arts Building, and a few larger classrooms. Thank you to our program coordinators, teachers, counselors, and exam proctors. Outside of the classroom, our spring sports are winding down, with the last of our athletes still competing in boys golf, CIF individuals, and track and field finals. We are 16 days away from graduation for the class of 2022. The year will be over before we know it. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Minster. From La Habra High School, Mr. Eels.
Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin, President Klatzker, and members of the board. This past week, we had an opportunity to really recognize and celebrate our teachers for Teacher of the Week, and provided meals and snacks throughout the week, and it was really a special week. We had our first ever job fair this past week, which was a fantastic experience. More than 15 employers were there, and it was great to see students arriving and milling around, and some were even accepting resumes and applications, which was really, really neat. We had sports going on, softball tonight. I just actually got an update. Unfortunately, we were in extra innings, second round, and we did lose this evening 6-5. Unfortunately, softball is out. However, we have team golf, boys golf, this next week in CIF, and we're excited to see them excel. And then finally, I did want to take a moment just to congratulate. We've had, obviously, our teacher and employees of the year, as well as our retirees that were recognized earlier. And just to thank them personally in this setting, our retirees, both Frank McCarroll as well as Ruth Morales, registrar, and Frank McCarroll, longtime teacher, athletic director, coach at La Habra High School, and truly a Highlander, and I just want to recognize them. And then finally, just thank you, board, as we wrap up this year, for your support and all that you do in regards to supporting La Habra High School, the events you attend, and everything that you are doing for our students, our community, as well as our staff. Thank you very much, and that concludes my report.
Okay, from Sonora High School, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin. Good evening, Board President Claxter, board members, and lastly, Grace. We'll miss you. All right. At Sonora High School, you would think the school year was just beginning by the excitement that abounds on campus. I would like to stay with the theme of family for this evening. In our academic honors family, we have had AP testing going on. I would like to give kudos to our counselors and Shannon Appenrod, our AP IB coordinator, for the coordination of the tests that students are taking and everything running smoothly. There are a total of 432 students taking AP exams, 170 taking IB exams. Next is our athletics family. Thank you to all of our athletes for their participation this year. This evening, we had our softball team playing. They're in the second round against Mission Viejo, and unfortunately, like La Habra, we just found out we lost 3-0. This week, we have two swimmers who will compete in state CIF. Joey Kling, who has been accepted to West Point, and Matthew Chai, who has been accepted to the University of Berkeley, and Matthew is also on the OC Registrar as Student Athlete of the Week. They are the epitome of scholar athletes. Good luck, guys. We are so proud of you. Last but certainly not least are our teachers and classified members of our family who we celebrated with a fiesta-themed week last week with our Moms in Prayer and PTSA, and who helped feed our staff members each day. Thank you for your time and attention. This concludes my school report. Oh.
You're so close. From Fullerton High School, Mrs. Rubio.
Good evening, Dr. McLaughlin, President Klotzker, members of the board. Like everyone here, we are gearing up for an end of the year with exciting events and activities, but not winding down yet with our spring sports. We are happy to have some of our sports teams still continue on to CIF competition, and I am waiting for the final text. Right now, our baseball team is playing home against Tackwitz High School from Hemet. Thankfully, again, it's a home game, and right now we were in the bottom of the seventh, or top of the seventh, 9-2. So I think we're going to win this one. If we do, we will continue on to play this Friday against Santiago Corona. So we're excited. I'm waiting for that final text right now. We do have also junior Abigail Ekstrom, followed by her CIF competition dive with great performance at CIF state diving qualifying, and we'll head on to CIF state championship in Clovis this Thursday. We also have an Angat Graywall, who took second place in the Freeway League Boys Golf Finals last week. Sangat will now move on to CIF individual playoffs and compete against other top golfers in our area. Individually, he finished second place in league and earned an all Freeway League honor. In tennis, we also have a second place Freeway League finishers in Nathan Lee and Timothy Chung. They will continue on as doubles partners with CIF in Division 4 playoffs this week. And in track, we also have CIF qualifiers who will continue on to play Layla Thornton, Haley Wan, Morgan McAndrew, Matthew Abernathy, and Donovan Yepes. So they will continue. We are very happy with our sports teams this year at Fullerton. We have been working very hard, and so thankfully we are not done yet. Our teachers are also ready for this strange year to wind down and to come to an end and to begin anew next year. We celebrated them all last week for their hard work, and they deserve that and more. We are already looking forward to focus on next year and moving forward and rebuilding our community. Graduation is right around the corner, and we're very excited to have you join us to celebrate our students' accomplishments this year. And with that, thank you, and that concludes my board report.
Thank you, Mr. Rubio. From La Vista La Sierra Schools, Mrs. Leana.
Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin, President Klatzker, members of the board. The Orange County Teacher of the Year Gala was held at Disneyland in April. This event has been postponed 2 years in a row due to the pandemic, so it was wonderful to finally have the opportunity to celebrate the 2020 La Vista High School and District Teacher of the Year Manny Macias and the 2021 La Sierra High School and District Teacher of the Year Sylvie Long-Leterrier. Mrs. Long-Leterrier was also honored for being named the California Teacher of the Year, and she got to dance with Mickey Mouse. In other news, the La Vista La Sierra basketball team had an away game against Brea Canyon in April. I'm proud to say that the Lions beat the Coyotes 42-10. The last time we played Brea before the pandemic, it was a different result, and so this was quite satisfying, and we are now undefeated for the season. Last Friday was the prom, and it was arguably the best one we've ever had, thanks to the organization of our wonderful ASB and their amazing advisor, Tamara Wouters. Finally, I'm pleased to announce that La Vista La Sierra received a $19,500 Phelps grant to repurpose one of our conference rooms into a wellness center. We're calling it the Zen Den, and we are excited about preparing this social emotional space for our students. Thank you, and that concludes the La Vista La Sierra report.
Thank you. And from Buena Park High School, Dr. Berg.
All right, thank you, Dr. McLaughlin, President Klasker, members of the board. So it's been a great last month at the park, filled with many firsts, so I have a few of them to talk about. We completed our first collaborative spring musical, which was Roger and Hammerstein's version of Cinderella, and it was an amazing event, which is still getting positive reviews from those in attendance. My family was there, extended family. They brought a bunch of friends and kids. They were all dressed as princes and princesses, and they had magical wands. It was just an amazing event. So it was also important to note that the male and female leads are both sophomores. So we'll have them in next year and the year after. So I can't wait to see what our directors do for the next couple plays. Our girls softball team completed their season with their first league victory and winning record, going 14-11 for the first time in over 20 years. So that was a big moment for them. And even better news, we are only losing 3 seniors, and 2 of them are going off to play into college. So we have pretty much the whole team coming back next year. So that's great. We had 10 swimmers qualify for CIF, which is the most in 1 year, according to Ted Clark, since 1993. In addition, 4 competed in the CIF finals, which was another first for us in about 14 years. And so the good news for that program is only one of those swimmers is a senior. And that person has also got a full ride to play in college, and she's going to play water polo. Our Air Force JROTC Stellar Explorer program sent 2 teams to nationals in Houston, Texas. We were the only school in the nation that had 2 teams qualify for nationals, and they both finished in the top 5. So that was pretty impressive, and they are back home now. And then lastly, history was made a week ago when junior Lance Ramos became the first SACA Gold certified student in the state of California, earning his Industry 4.0 cert in AC/DC electrical systems by successfully completing all of the hands-on skill scenarios on the Amatrol trainer, and that's a lot of big jargon that most people don't know about. But what you do know about is that it qualifies him for very high-paying jobs in the mechatronics industry. We're talking like $60,000 to $80,000 a year jobs to start. So very impressive for him, and he's a junior, so I got him for 1 more year. And then lastly, and you guys got to brag about Grace a ton, but I just want to recognize her and actually say thank you to her, because she's humble. She won't talk about herself, and I'm glad that we got to say all the amazing things, because she's been a great representative for Buena Park High School, being here representing us on the board. And so thank you for your leadership this year at Buena Park, and I wish you the best of luck at Stanford. Early admit, you're amazing. So thank you very much, and that concludes my report.
Okay, and last but not least, for his first principal report, the new principal of, that's why he's last, that's why they were laughing, because they figured out the pattern, is Principal Craig Weinrich. We just appointed him last month, so he's been on the job for 3-4 weeks. So let's hear what's happening.
All right, thank you. Good evening, President Klatzker, board members, and Dr. McLaughlin. My first month back on the Hill has been very exciting and eventful. Much like everybody else, our spring athletics have been very, very successful. All 7 of our spring athletic teams made it to CIF playoffs this year. This success has been highlighted by our amazing boys volleyball team advancing to the CIF finals this upcoming Saturday at 4 p.m. at Long Beach City College. We also have 2 Lancer swimmers, Ms. Kylie Chow and Skylar Cow, who are swimming in the state CIF championships this weekend as well. We're really proud of these athletes and all that they have accomplished this season, and we were able to recognize them all at break this last Tuesday in front of the rest of the school, so that was exciting. Our Conservatory of the Fine Arts, or COFA, recently held a series of amazing spring performances in dance, choir, band, and theater. One of our outstanding senior dance students, David Byrne, was honored this past week by the Orange County Register as their 2022 Artist of the Year in Commercial Dance. David, who is also on ASB, has made the entire Lancer family proud of his many accomplishments over these 4 years. Lancers would also like to thank the outgoing student board member, Ms. Grace Lee, for all of her excellent work this year and working with all of our students and across the district. And I got to see that at a couple different sites, so we appreciate all your efforts there. And to conclude my report, Sunny Hills is very excited to have the honor of having our new student board member, and I wanted to welcome Jackie Wu myself, and so welcome to the as a student board member for next year. Thank you, and this concludes my board report.
Thank you. President Klatzker.
Thank you all. Congratulations on your first board report. Tonight, moving on to our next agenda item, which is commendations and recognitions, which is one of the most fun things on the agenda. The board is happy tonight to recognize site and district employees of the year. So I'd like to invite Dr. Zehner to the podium to start the recognitions.
Thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board, and Dr. McLaughlin. The month of May brings many exciting events, and the district will approve resolutions 2021-22, number 40, proclaiming May 2nd through May 6th to be National Teacher Appreciation Week, and May 3rd as National Teacher Day in Fullerton Joint Union High School. And resolution 2021-22, number 41, proclaiming May 15th through May 21st to be Classified School Employee Week in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. So we have many outstanding teachers and classified of the year at their sites to be recognized. We also have our district folks to be recognized. And first, we'll begin a presentation that lists all of our site employees of the year for you to view and enjoy. Let's give our employees of the year a round of applause. We now will be introducing our 2 district teachers of the year and our 1 district classified employee of the year. Each employee will come to the podium and will receive a certificate of recognition, a plaque, a pin, business cards from the board president and superintendent, who will point to the addition of their names on the District Teacher of the Year and Classified Employee of the Year perpetual plaques that reside in the boardroom. In addition, they will receive a $100 gift card from School's First Federal Credit Union. I would like to begin with Dr. Sanji Berg, the principal of Buena Park High School, to come to the podium to introduce our first District Teacher of the Year, Mr. Earl Bench.
All right, this is always the fun part of the job, getting to brag about our employees. Welcome, Earl. So Earl has been teaching for 22 years, and he bleeds green. And if you know anything about Earl, he'll come up in the front office with me and chit-chat, and always, he's like one of my idea guys. And one of the people on campus is always going to come up with innovative ideas, thinking outside the box. He's been at Buena Park his whole career. And that's why I say he bleeds green, because he's did student teaching there and then continued right on and has been a mainstay on campus ever since. He's seen as a mentor to his colleagues. And when I go and talk with other staff members about him, that's one of the biggest things that they say. That and he's a safe place for our students. And I think what a great thing that is for his colleagues to notice that, but also for us as administrators to know that any student on campus is going to be welcome in his room. They're going to find a safe place there, and they're going to be able to have an advocate for them to basically grow as a student for their 4 years, whether he's their teacher or not. And I think that that's such a wonderful thing to say about somebody. He's always nominated as one of the graduation readers, so it tells you what the students think about him. They want him to read their names at graduation. And he is always nominated as Teacher of the Year. And so it's only fitting that he got it this year, and then to get recognized as District Teacher of the Year after putting in so much effort as one of the members of our Ethnic Studies Committee, developing that important course here in the district coming forward, and really being an integral member of that. And so I can't say enough great things about Mr. Bench, and congratulations, well deserved, sir.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Earl. Good job. Proud of you.
Next up, I would like to introduce to the podium our La Vista La Sierra principal, Ms. Sandy Leana, to come to the podium to introduce our second District Teacher of the Year, Ms. Roseanne Halcombe.
It is my pleasure to introduce the La Vista High School and the District Teacher of the Year, Roseanne Halcombe, who's joined here tonight by her son, John, her daughter, Anais, and a plethora of fans from the Lion's Den. Mrs. Halcombe is a social science and art teacher at La Vista. She currently teaches U.S. history, government, drawing and painting, and academy, but during her 35-year tenure, she has taught a lot more. She started her career teaching ELD at La Sierra High School. 12 years later, she transferred the skills and strategies she used to teach language learners at La Sierra to reach the at-promise students at La Vista. Ms. Halcombe is one of the first ASB advisors at La Vista, helping disenfranchised students connect with their school community and develop their leadership skills. She also developed the first CTE class offered on campus, College and Careers, allowing students struggling to graduate from high school the opportunity to explore their post-secondary options. Finally, Mrs. Halcombe developed and taught the U.S. History Honors classes so students behind in credit could still develop their higher-level critical thinking skills. Ms. Halcombe is a teacher leader who has served on many committees over the course of her career, including WASC Chair and Focus Group Leader, the Tobacco Cessation Program, and currently the Ethnic Studies Committee. She is always willing to take on extra duties, including mentoring new teachers and student teachers. She is also the advisor of the Art Club, which is one of the oldest and most active clubs on campus. There is no one at La Vista who can match her historical perspective on best practices in continuing education. All of that being said, Ms. Halcombe's main strength is her teaching. Every decision she makes is through the lens of what is best for her students. Her students, many of whom have been unsuccessful in school prior to enrolling at La Vista, find success, if not for the first time in a long time in her class. She sees the best in students and they rise to that vision. If my own children went to school at La Vista, I would want them to be in class with Ms. Halcombe. For all these reasons and more, I am delighted to have Roseanne Halcombe represent La Vista High School and the Fullerton Joint Union High School District as the Teacher of the Year. I cannot think of anyone who deserves the honor more. I love you.
Congratulations, well deserved.
And for our final presentation, this is for our Classified Employee of the Year. I'd like to have Sonora High School Principal, Mr. Marvin Atkins, come to the podium to introduce Teresa Zambrano. Come on up, Teresa.
She's just so focused on the students. Those teachers at Vista really are committed to those kids. They like their job. I was talking to a lady that I know whose granddaughter, one of her daughters, she is so drunk. She went.
To say it's been my privilege to work with Miss Teresa Zambrano is just a small token of everything that she does for our Sonora family. She's an ambassador for our school. She greets, calms anxious parents down, comforts frightened children, helps frantic teachers who get flat tires going on their way to school. She also calms people down at all times. One of her most endearing qualities is that she counsels the principal. When there are big decisions to be made, I can always look over to Teresa and say, let's go for a walk. Let's grab our shoes and we walk the track. She knows at that time, she and I have to make a tough decision. Each day, she solves so many problems on the fly and includes the copier and copier machine. Everyone in the community knows that when they have a question or concern, they can come to Teresa and she will be able to take care of their needs quickly and efficiently. Mrs. Zambrano is a genuine listener and supportive colleague. She is an organized individual that ensures that our school office runs in the most productive and smooth manner possible. She puts in the extra hours during the school year without the thought of any self-serving means. You will never be able to guess what's going on with her personally because she puts her school first. You can determine her level of sincerity with the effort that she puts into everything she does, going above and beyond any expectation. When awarded this honor, Mrs. Zambrano said she does what she does because she loves Sonora High School. And Teresa, the school loves you too. At Sonora High School, we consider everyone a member of our family. And Teresa, you're our auntie, who will certainly take care of us at any time. Thank you, Teresa, for everything you do. And tonight she's joined with her husband, Ignacio, back there as well. All right. Thank you. Right over there.
One more round of applause, everybody. Our last presenter for our commendations and recognitions tonight is our District FSTO President, Angie Senkak, who will introduce each student who is receiving an FSTO scholarship. Ms. Senkak.
Thank you, Dr. Zehner. Can I have my 4 recipients come on up now, please? Oh, five. I have five. Sorry, 5 out of my six. You guys can just stand right here. Okay. And first up is Maria Carrillo. No, I'm sorry. Abigail Ham. Abigail Ham is from Sunny Hills High School. Abigail holds the distinction as a first place all-around hurdler and track and field runner, and has done so as a freshman at since being a freshman at Sunny Hills High School. She also holds the school's record for the 100-meter hurdles. She is the recipient of the school's Spirit Orchestra Award, Coaches Cross Country Award, and the COFA Laureate Award. Abigail was also prom queen this year. Mr. Odega says of Abigail, in person or online, she is an amazing student. She is well liked by all of her teachers. She is that kind of student. Rare for her absolute genuine love of learning, combined with absolute competence in everything she does. Abigail will be attending UC San Diego in the fall, and we honor her with her scholarship award and a certificate of congratulations. Next, we have Troy Kaufman from La Harbour High School. Troy has had a very distinguished career while at La Harbour High School. He was involved in both football and baseball, serving as a quarterback on the varsity football team and a pitcher for his baseball team. Troy's many accomplishments include College Board Hispanic Recognition Award, College Board AP Scholar with distinction, American Legion California Boys State Delegate nominee, National Honor Society Life Member, California Scholarship Federation Life Member Seal Bearer, 2022 CIF Southern Section Male Scholar Athlete of the Year, 2021 Homecoming King. He will also serve as La Harbour's valedictorian during graduation and is ranked #1 out of 515 students in his graduating class. He is graduating with a 4.96 grade point average. Troy is described by one of his teachers, Misty Burt, as not only an exemplary student, but he's also a person of great integrity. Troy will be attending Harvey Mudd in the fall, majoring in engineering. Congratulations, Troy. Can you make sure this is yours? Or no? You're welcome. Next up, we have Stevie Navarro. Stevie Navarro is from La Harbour High School. Stevie's extracurricular activities include a National Honor Society member, Link Crew member, Key Club member, Keystone, and math tutoring. Stevie plans on attending UC Berkeley in the fall and earn her degree towards becoming an English teacher. Yay. She has further aspirations of becoming the Secretary of Education. You go, Stevie. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. Lewis. We have Lewis Lee from Sunny Hills High School. Lewis has applied for the Certified Nursing Assistant program, and upon completion of that program, he studied for the certification exam and has passed it. He is currently working part-time at a nursing home as a certified nursing assistant. Past Principal Alan Witten says about Lewis, he would come into my office almost daily to film a parody of The Office for an assembly. Lewis was merely a freshman then, yet he managed to gather close to 20 teachers to commit to learning their lines and making this video. Good job. His dedication and perseverance are demonstrated in everything he does. His goal is to become a nursing professor. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least, Francis Walton from Fullerton High School. Francis's achievements include editor-in-chief of her yearbook, Fullerton High School Junior State of America member, Link Crew member, National Honor Society member, California Scholarship Association member, Rotary Top 100, Principal's Honor Roll, all 4 years and 8 semesters while she attended Fullerton High School. She is graduating with a 4.7 grade point average and will attend Scripps College in the fall with the goal of becoming either a math or history teacher. Ms. Cynthia Ortiz described Francis as a blue moon student, one whose talent, drive, performance, and essence are so unparalleled, they come along once in a blue moon. There you go. We had 6 participants, and I'm so grateful that FSTO has the ability to award our student scholarships every year, and thank you. We're so proud of this, the 5 of you, so thank you very much.
Let's give our scholarship recipients one more round of applause. Thank you, Ms. Senkak, and that concludes our commendations and recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Zehner. Next on our agenda is timely information from the board and superintendent. Are there any board members that have any information they'd like to share? Okay, Dr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board, and members of the community. Thanks for being here tonight. Our message this month in the newsletter is so much to celebrate. Man, we have so much to celebrate tonight. This is a really interesting time of the year where it's a very reflective time and a celebratory time. We get to reflect on what we've accomplished, what we've been through this year, and it still continues to be a very unique year. And it's sometimes we have the very bad short-term memories, and we forget how we started this year and what a challenge that was and what it took in order for us to get back to a full in-person instructional program. And then mid-year, as we came out of the holidays and what that experience was going to be like. And we're proud to say we continued to maintain our attendance overall, our kids in classrooms. We continued to support our teachers and staff, our families. And we get to be here tonight to celebrate so much. It's really an amazing culmination of a school year. And we're not done yet, because we got graduations coming up. So we're really, really excited for that. I do want to recognize our principal leaders here at the dais. We had Principal Appreciation Day. It was what, last week? Bet you guys didn't know there's Principal Appreciation Day. Don't worry, we're planning something later. That's how we appreciate principals. We are going to appreciate you, but things are moving fast. But they get appreciated too, because their leadership this year has been tremendous. And it's been wonderful getting to know you each individually and how you lead your schools with your hearts first, your head second, and you're there for everybody. So I really just wanted to give you a quick shout out. And then the two people I really want to recognize tonight, and these are our partners with our associations, that's Angie Senkak and Joe Sliker, who isn't here tonight. I just want to say thank you for your leadership and partnership. We navigated some things this year. I meet with the associations at least once a month, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, depending on what's coming up. And your honest feedback, the ability to bridge relationships, our ability to work together has really helped support this school district as a whole. So I just wanted to just say thank you as we end this year for their leadership and their input and their partnership in helping us navigate this district. So with that concludes my remarks, and we'll see Grace at graduation and many other people out there in a few weeks.
Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin. We are moving on to updates from our employee associations. So I'd like to invite FSTO President Angie Senkak back up to the podium to give an update.
Should have sat closer. Good evening, President Klatzker, trustees, and Dr. McLaughlin. 16 days to go and counting down. FSTO has had a very busy year this year, as we all have. We are eagerly looking forward to summer months where we will be recharging and awaiting our return in August. Of course, many of our teachers will be giving up their summer recess to continue teaching for the 6 weeks that we offer classes. A heartfelt thanks to those teachers who will be giving up their time for our students this summer. As you know, FSTO's negotiating team reached a tentative agreement with the district's negotiating team on April 25th, and we are currently in the process of voting on the tentative agreement. Our voting window closes tomorrow, May 11th at 4 p.m. Teachers hear that. And election results will be sent out shortly thereafter. Thank you again to Dr. Atkinson and his team for the respectful negotiation sessions and for working in an expedient manner to come up with a successor agreement. We all appreciated everyone's diligence and your time. On May 3rd, we celebrated 3 of our FSTO members at the Orange Service Center Council CTA Annual WHO Awards. The WHO Awards, We Honor Ours, are presented annually to those who have given exemplary service to our association and our members. Margie Blevins, Helen Ho, and Lisa Valdez were this year's recipients, and we thank them for their service to our association. An added bonus for us this year, Trustee Foley was also in attendance at the awards dinner. She was there with her association, Anaheim Secondary Teachers, in celebration of this year's WHO State Award winner, Grant Schuster. We did appreciate your attendance, and it was great to have you there with us. Thank you. Our representative council will meet next week, May 17th, for our final meeting of the 2021-22 school year. We are looking forward to having Trustee Jang with us for our meeting to speak with our members, and thank you for your time. Our association will continue to work during the summer months in preparation for next year. We welcome 2 new officers on June 1st, Vice President Amanda Geiser and Secretary Magdalena Villalba. We also thank our outgoing officers, Myra Deister and Andrea Eisenman, for their dedication to our members. They both will be staying on in different capacities, but they will continue to serve FSTO. We will also be busy planning our new teacher luncheon, which will be held this August at our no-cut offices. Other activities planned for us this summer include the National Education Association's Representative Assembly, which will be held in Chicago, July 1st through July 6th, the President's Conference in Burlingame, July 14th through 17th, the Summer Institute, which is held at the campus at UCLA, July 24th through the 28th, and a leadership retreat for our officers and site reps, which I only sprung on them this afternoon, so they need some time to digest. More information will come regarding this event. And as this is our last meeting of the 21-22 school year, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Trustees for their leadership and guidance this past year. We appreciate all you do for our students and our teachers. To our principals, thank you for all that you do and for also working so closely and generously with FSTO this year. It's been greatly appreciated. Dr. McLaughlin, thank you for the fresh perspective this year. We also appreciate your leadership and guidance, and we look forward to a continued positive partnership with you. I promise to try to get those down to 1 meeting a month. I can't thank you enough, though, for always taking my calls, answering my text messages, my early morning calls at 7:30 in the morning, and my emails, and for all of your support that you've given to FSTO this year. We greatly appreciate you. I look forward to continued collaboration. Grace Lee, you are going to be so missed, especially by me. We wish you all the best at Stanford and in everything that you do. Please keep in touch with us. I have one little gift for you. Grace, you will be missed on Buena Park, and especially in room 14. Thank you for all that you've done for your students, and thank you for everything that you will continue to do as you move forward. You've been such a wonderful, wonderful asset to all of us, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Grace, those are gorgeous flowers. Normally we would invite up our CSEA president, Joe Sliker, but he is not here tonight. So I'd like to recognize first vice president of CSEA, Joanne Avalos, who's here tonight to represent CSEA. She declined coming up to give a report, but I would like to extend the thanks from the board for our wonderful pins that she gave to us celebrating CSEA and the work that they do. So thank you very much. We're going to take a quick recess to allow those families and staff and students that are here right now to do a quick exit so that they don't have to be stuck here for the rest of the board meeting unless they'd like to stay. They are welcome to. And we'll reconvene in a couple of minutes. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I made a mistake and I skipped number 2 on our updates, which was Parent-Teacher Association updates. And neither one of our Fullerton Council co-presidents are here, so Mrs. Harder is going to read their statement for them.
I am. I'm happy to do that. So this is from the co-presidents of Fullerton Council PTA. Good evening, President Klatzker, members of the board, Dr. McLaughlin, cabinet and principals. Just a few weeks left in the school year and lots of fun things are happening around the district. It's so fun to see events like prom and senior events back for a fun end of the year. On April 26th, Fullerton Council held our spring luncheon, which hasn't happened for 3 years. It was a fun event to gather, chat, and recognize some truly amazing individuals. Fullerton Council honored and awarded the following 5 graduating seniors with scholarships. Andrea Florendo from Troy High School, Daniel Johan from Troy High School, Lewis Lee from Sunny Hills High School, Eliza Lynch from Fullerton High School, Aaliyah Knoll from Fullerton High School. Council also recognized and honored several dedicated individuals who have gone above and beyond for our students, schools, and communities. Vanessa Guion, Honorary Service Award, Raymond Parent. Jennifer Wynn, Honorary Service Award, Sunset Lane Parent. Amidra A.J. Jasinge, Honorary Service Award, Fissler Parent. Christy Carter, Honorary Service Award, Fullerton Council. Lauren Whalen, Outstanding Teacher Award, Hermosa Elementary. Alan Witten, Outstanding Administrator Award, Sunny Hills High School. Carmen Cerna, Continuing Service Award, Fullerton School District. That's all for now, and we will see you soon. Sincerely, Wendy Reed, Fullerton Council PTA.
Thank you, Mrs. Harder. Okay, so normally at this time we'd have public comments. I believe that
We don't have any.
all right, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, we are going to move on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is reports. The first item on here is revised board policy 9321, which is, yes, you may.
All right, thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board. And just for the community, the item on the agenda is a request to move our July 12th regularly scheduled board meeting to July 26th. So it's a 2-week delay in talking with staff. We think this gives us a better position to do some of our summer hiring to get those approved prior to the opening of the school year. Give us a little bit more additional time as a trustee group and a governance team to talk about our priorities. And then that coincides with the launch of our leadership retreat, which is on Thursday. So for those reasons, staff put this request to change the board meeting.
Okay, so revised board bylaw 9321-2022 schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Trustees is presented for first reading information. And I would like to suggest that we waive the second reading and move to approval of the revised board policy. Do I hear any objection to waiving the second reading? Okay. Is there a motion to approve revised board policy 9321, schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Trustees? Thank you, Marilyn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Do board members have any questions? Grace, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Dr. McLaughlin. Next is Education and Assessment Services, and we have new basic textbook list revision, addendum number 1, and I'd like to call on Assistant Superintendent Dr. Kaufman to present the list of textbook revisions.
Thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board and guests. This evening for first reading and information, the textbooks on the attached list are proposed for addition to the basic textbook list effective for the 22-23 school year. Our process began over 1 year ago. Each campus had teacher volunteers to pilot the curriculum. In addition, special education teachers participated in the process and our EL TOSA as well. Approximately 26 teachers participated in this process. We had 6 publishers initially considered. In September, the curriculum team selected materials from 2 publishers to pilot, and letters were sent to parents informing them of the pilot and the opportunity for feedback. In October, the pilot began with the digital platforms. Special education classes, though, they use digital and hard copies. At the conclusion of the first pilot, teachers and students were surveyed. And in November, we began our second pilot, and we did the same process as well. In January, we met to debrief on the survey results. At that time, one subject area selected their textbook, but 2 other subject areas wanted to pilot an additional textbook. And so we went through the process there and piloted for a 3rd time a different publisher during the months of February and March. In March, we reconvened, and those 2 additional subjects selected a textbook publisher. So now, in accordance with our District Administrative Regulation 6711.1, the textbooks have been reviewed by teachers, submitted to department leaders for evaluation, and the members of the appropriate curriculum committee meetings with the administrative liaisons. They've completed the evaluation forms indicating that the books have been properly reviewed. The proposed additions have also been approved by Administrative Council and the Superintendent. Information on the proposed basic textbooks are presently available in Education and Assessment Services for review by any interested persons. As a side note, we will be using digital and hard copies. They will be available for students and teachers upon approval. The textbooks will be recommended for adoption at our June 14th, 2022 board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. I'd like to call on Director of Educational Services, Steve Zamora, to give us a presentation on the A through G Completion Improvement Grant.
It's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
It is.
I was going to say that too. Thank you, President Klasker, members of the board, and Dr. McLaughlin. This evening, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the A through G Completion Improvement Grant Plan. Tonight's presentation is for information only. There's no board agenda item for this tonight. Like several of the other grants that we've received over this past year, this is one of those grants where we present in one board meeting and we adopt in another board meeting. So we're presenting tonight, and then on June the 14th, it'll be on the board agenda for approval. Let me take you through the plan real quickly. Oh, he did it. I just was so excited to see that that worked very well, and I'm going to give Weston a big thank you. He was on it tonight. So the University of California and California State University systems require that high school graduates have to complete certain courses for entry into their various universities. Together, these courses are called the A to G requirements, and you'll often hear students talking about meeting the A to G requirements, or you'll hear a staff member encouraging them to meet the A to G requirements so that they can matriculate to one of the UC-CSU schools. As you can see from the graphic that's on the slide, they cover a spectrum of subjects from history to certain elective credits. Assembly Bill 130 and the resulting Education Code 41590, the grant was established to increase the percentage of students that are graduating high school having met the A to G requirements. That'll give them a wider spectrum of the choices that they have post-high school. Fullerton Joint Union High School District was awarded the A to G grant funds in the amount of just under $2.3 million, and the funds are targeted specifically for high school students. There to support, as you would imagine, student access and completion of the A to G course requirements, and the funds can be spent over a 5-year period of time, so 5 years on these one-time dollars. There's some required timelines that the district has to adhere to. First, the plan had to be completed this past April, which it was, April 1st. We were then required by Education Code to present the plan to the board, and that's tonight. And then third, we're required to have the plan approved at a successive meeting, and that's the next one is June 14th. And then there's 2 reporting cycles that are according to it, to the plan. The first one is mid-cycle, and that's December of 2023. And then the final reporting is by August 31st of 2026. Districts can qualify for 2 of 3 grant allocations. There's access grants, and that's for districts that have A to G completion rates of less than 67%, and that's most districts in the state of California, and then includes our district that's at 57.4% completion rate. There are success grants for districts that have A to G completion rates of 67% or higher. And then there's learning loss mitigation grants that all districts are eligible to receive. And you can see that Fullerton Joint Union High School District has received access grants in the amount of just a little over $1.6 million, and learning loss mitigation funds totaling about $625,000 for just under $2.3 million for the grant. Part of the development of the plan included that the district conduct a needs assessment by looking at student data, and the data results were used to determine where the district will concentrate the use of our funds. And here's kind of what we found in brief. We did more of this than you see here, but this is just kind of a brief view of what we've looked at. These are the district A to G completion rates for the past 5 years. And you can see that the percentages are fairly flat. over the past 5 years, but they have been increasing steadily over the past 3. This is about the same for Orange County. Orange County averages are at about 57.1%, and that's also above the state average, which is just under 5.2%, or 52%, excuse me, at 51.8%. The Lcap survey also showed a desire on the part of educational partners, all of them, but including parents especially, desiring that these percentages go up. What we found interesting and somewhat concerning is that 98% of district students start and continue to take courses that already meet A to G requirements. Most of our district courses meet A to G requirements. The difference between the 98% of students taking the courses meeting A to G requirements and the 57.4% you see on the 2021 graph here is that doesn't take into account, or it takes into account students who have either failed an A to G course or they've gotten a D, because you have to get a C or better on A to G courses for them to count in UCs. So D's don't count for they don't count for UC. What am I trying to say? Thank you. Eligibility. I appreciate the term. That's what I was looking for. They do count for graduation. And we also we further disaggregated the data to show how our unduplicated student populations, including students with disabilities, homeless students, fared as compared to the all-student population as we were looking at this. And you can draw some of the same conclusions by looking at it that we did, and that we need to concentrate fundings on certain student groups. With the needs assessment results, we developed the following 5 planned activities to increase the A to G completion rate over the next 5 years. First, we begin with professional learning. Professional learning training that's going to equip our staff to identify, monitor, and support students who are in danger of failing or who are failing A through G courses. Training that's going to include services to our guidance staff, specifically to help students in those areas, on some of the guidance tools that we have access to, like ARIES and some of the other programs that we have, and strategies that focus on high-needs students populations as illustrated in the previous slide, as well as continuing to invest in the effective learning support strategies in all of our classrooms. So the first one is professional learning. The second area of planned activities is building comprehensive advising plans. And this is adding specific attention to our 4-year advising plans that includes emphasis on meeting A to G requirements. First, we're going to take advantage of the individualized academic plan function that's already existing in our ARIES student information system. That's going to help us with identifying and monitoring the students failing or in danger of failing and getting them the interventions that they need in a timely manner. Secondly, partnering with our community resources like local libraries that have hours and spaces available for students who need them to be more successful in A to G courses, in all their courses. Thirdly, expanding articulation agreements and dual concurrent enrollment opportunities for students so they can satisfy college requirements and provide them with college credit. That gets them well ahead of the game and meeting those requirements. Fourth, employing strategies that will encourage our students to raise their own expectations of themselves. You might remember a few years ago we did things called Mindset Mondays, and it was designed to get kids to think more highly and to have higher expectations of themselves. We want to employ strategies like that as well. And then lastly, they're partnering with our parents, obviously, to help them see the benefits of having their student successfully complete courses that meet the A to G requirements. Next, expanding access and support options. There's 2 things here essentially. You see several bullets, but essentially it's conducting a self-audit, which you've already started, by the way, to ensure that all of our courses can meet the A to G requirements, that they actually do, the ones that can do, and in fact do meet those requirements. The first 4 bullets are essentially about that. And then secondly, finding students who could, with extra support, be successful in A to G courses and then support them with ongoing monitoring. So thereby expanding the number of students who are actually attempting to take A to G required classes or A to G classes. And then fourth, college test fees. Something the district's already been doing with AP and IB tests for years, and some sites have been doing for PSAT and SAT tests, is sponsoring students that can't afford some tests that automatically result in college credit or help students identify areas for growth as they move through their high school tenure. The A to G grant provides funds to help districts pay for such tests district-wide and not just at certain schools. And then fifth, expanded credit recovery opportunities. The A through G grant funds can be used to find creative ways to help students recover lost credits in A to G courses. And this could include, and I say could include because we're still kind of figuring some of this out, but it could include flexible summer school makeups. It could include makeup options within the school day or in the school year and exploration of independent study options. These are things that we're still talking about and learning. Lastly, the final section of the plan asks districts to indicate some areas where the A to G grant activities are connected in some way to the activities in the local control accountability plan. Everything has to somehow get some kind of connection to the Lcap these days. And there's more, but I just listed a few to give you an example of it here, where the Lcap expenditures might appear to cover what the A to G contains. But what you will actually find looking at the two plans is that the A to G grant is there to enhance or expand services and supports that are specific in helping students to meet the A to G requirements and improve the district's A to G completion rates. So you can just see it there. The Lcap funds summer school, and it has for years. Summer school you'll see in the A to G grant as well, but the difference between the two is that normal summer school is for remediation for students who failed courses so they can actually meet graduation requirements. In the A to G grant, summer supports are there to help students who have gotten a D or an F to be able to repeat a course so they can actually meet A to G requirements. Tutoring is in the Lcap. It's also in the A to G grant. Tutoring in the Lcap is for all students, and tutoring in the A to G grant is obviously, again, going to target specific students who may be failing or in danger of failing. And then guidance services. We have guidance services in the Lcap as well, and that's to meet graduation requirements, post-high school planning and career exploration. Guidance services that you'll see in the A to G grant are specifically identifying, monitoring, supporting students failing or in danger of failing A to G courses. And these interventions could be many. They might include things like additional staffing. It might include additional courses, resources, and services. And obviously both the Lcap and the A to G grant are always trying to emphasize on unduplicated student populations. So that's really the A to G grant in a nutshell. What's next steps? With me finishing up on this presentation, that checks off a second box there. So the initial plan was done on April 1st. Tonight checks off the box saying we've presented it to the board on June the 14th. It will be presented again for your approval. And then those two, the mid-cycle report and the final report, that are be coming in the years ahead. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
I have a couple questions, but are you sure? Okay, so I'm wondering about our partnerships. I know you talked about dual enrollment, but I know Cal State Fullerton has the Jrotc program, for example, which works with school districts and follows cohorts and, you know, does some additional counseling and support and tutoring and things like that. Will the grant cover expanding those opportunities and partnerships with, like, for example, and I'm just throwing it out there because I know about it, like an organization like Cal State Fullerton and their Jrotc program?
We actually have tried a partnership with Cal State Fullerton, and they have sent in for a grant, and we're waiting for the outcome on that. So
fantastic.
As soon as we get additional information, we will share with the board.
That's awesome. And then my other question is, I'm wondering, could the grant money be utilized to, for example, enhance through master scheduling and expanding sections of programs like AVID at sites, which directly impact, you know, students accessing higher level classes and things like that? Is that something that the money can be used towards?
The money is mostly used for remediation for students who haven't met A to G requirements or who might not be meeting A to G requirements. AVID is something that we fully support under the LCFF supplemental funds and the Lcap. And so if there's need for more courses like that, if there's students that will take the courses as they expand at this various sites, we've already set aside LCFF supplemental funds to support that entire program. So it's outside of the A to G grant, but the A to G grants is specific to a group of students who are either in danger of failing or failing A to G courses.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Marilyn?
I was really listening closely to this. It was troublesome to me that we have 90-some% of our classes are A through G, you know, but only 50-some% of our students are meeting that requirement. It's always good to get additional funds, but I think I would be really interested in something more specific. I mean, I can't believe that we're already not doing the things that we need to do to get the students who are having difficulty to the level that they need to be. And I'm wondering, will the additional money make a significant difference? I mean, it seems to me you'd have to have some different interventions, some different processes, if what we're doing now is not bringing this from 50 to 90 some. So I really think even December is too late to see some progress or where we're going with this. I mean, I think it's so important that we can bring the students who aren't achieving at the level that they're capable of being able to do that. I mean, I think this is a wonderful thing, but I just don't hear specifics. But maybe I'm looking for something that you haven't quite developed yet, so.
Well, that's true, and there's some of it's being developed. Some of it has already begun. So, for example, one of the things that we needed to do is to start taking a deeper dive into student transcripts and looking at student transcripts and finding out which students are actually on the cusp of maybe not passing an A to G class. And I worked with you might have heard of Ron Anderson. Ron Anderson is a longtime administrator in the district. He helps us once in a while. And Ron and I, because he knows Aries so well, worked on how we can identify those students and provide those student names to the guidance teams at each of the sites so that they kind of have an early warning list, if you will. So we've already started some of the process for identifying the students and then providing the guidance services to them and other supports. That'll have to come next, but we have to do a deeper dive with student transcripts
So you're going
first.
to the specific students and looking, okay, this student needs some specific.
It's got to be at that level. That's the way we're only
And
gonna get
you mentioned the summer school ability to repeat a class, which is good, but I worry that's a compressed period of time. And again, if you have students who are, for whatever reason, having difficulty with success in the regular school, is summer school the best venue for that? Again, you would be able to answer better than I, but I mean, I think this is wonderful. It's something that we definitely need some additional support for, but I would love to see, you'll come back to us with some stuff before December.
Yeah, we'll be back. Part of this too is it's really exciting when they release money so quickly. But what's also really exciting is to watch Steve put a plan together in weeks, which is a general plan, which was the requirement, and then the input. And maybe you can share some of the input that you sought out with some of the different groups at the sites. So I know the guidance checks were involved, the counselors were involved to start to generate these specific recommendations. But I do know this is an evolving plan as well that we're going to get deeper into. The remediation piece on the D, allowing kids to remediate a D rather than an F for graduation, that's a significant move. And whether that's in summer school or through some other programming during the school year, I know that's what we're exploring too, to see what we can do in those areas.
Okay, I just want to ask a couple questions. So I just get clarification. So you're saying only 56% of our students are doing well through A through G? And there's some that have
57% of our students graduate having met all of the A to G requirements.
57%. And then the reason why the other 40 or 44% haven't is because they got a D or an F?
That's generally the case, or they've left the district, and they're out of the
And
cohort.
we haven't fixed that problem?
So one of the areas where many students tend not to achieve A through G could be in the area sometimes of not taking a world language course, because that's one of the requirements, or not getting a C or higher in Algebra 2 or higher. So our students need to be taking the algebra, geometry, and Algebra 2 in order to meet those criteria. And so those are two stumbling blocks for many of our students, and it tends to be statewide as well.
And so a big piece of this, is going to be in the education and helping people understand the difference between a graduation requirement and the A to G requirement. Because we can have successful students that meet, right? And so expanding that knowledge, even working on our articulation within our feeder districts, our partner districts. So we're educating people, this is what we need in order to be A to G eligible. Some kids are being successful, they just term out prior to becoming A to G eligible.
Yeah, because we can have some data, because certain kids could be A through G, and then there's kids that are just like me that just went through and got a diploma. We didn't go through A through G.
Right.
And so the data would reflect that if we knew the track they were on. So when you're saying 57%, and it's looking like the other 43% are not doing well, and they're graduating, we are graduating our students.
Our graduation rate is quite high.
Yeah, I know that.
It's 90-ish%, yeah.
Yeah,
So our graduation rate's pretty high. It's just that number of students who are able to go right into the UC or CSU program.
Right. I just think we need some data just to reflect that, or it's just like a checkbox where these kids were on that track and these kids were on that track, so that we can see the difference, so it won't look like we're only, A through G, only 57%, when it's actually like 90%. It's just those other ones didn't do well. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, we can get that data to show the
Yeah, the difference.
percentage of students, because 96% do graduate.
Right.
And then 57% of those, of our graduates are A to G eligible. So we can disaggregate some more of that.
And then also the kids that didn't pass the Algebra 2 class, we do need to put some things in safeguards in there so that they can do well. And I know that's what you're saying over the summer.
Yes.
But can we have some, like, a class after school or something, because we do have the extra money to make sure that they get the extra tutoring so that they can be in that track that they wanted, so they can go on to Cal State or wherever they need to go, so, or wherever they decide to go. I just think that that's really, really important. Thanks. Thanks for hearing me out.
And Steve, you mentioned that some of the money will go toward PSAT and SAT as well?
Yes.
And if so, how much money will be allocated? And what kind of formats are you thinking? A 6 weeks program, 8 weeks program, after school program, online? Any ideas what you're thinking?
We know that some of the schools are doing that right now as far as like SAT prep and that kind of thing. We'll just have to work. I think we're going to work that out site by site because each of the sites does that a little bit differently.
Yeah, because right now some of the colleges are not requiring SATs yet, but it is returning.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
I had a quick comment too. When we say students don't complete A through G, it could be only one class, right? And then it's failure to complete. I want to make sure people don't get the impression that somehow students are not being successful. Maybe they got the D+, maybe they didn't do Algebra 2. Maybe they just said, you know what? I'd rather take an additional elective because I've decided to go to community college. So there are lots of factors. It is important to leave all options open for students, so getting more to complete A through G is terrific. I just don't want to create the impression that somehow a lot of students are failing their classes or they're, maybe they don't have the information they need or whatever, but it could be one oops in their sophomore year or whatever, and that's that. Okay.
I think that was an important point that you made, yeah. So,
Thank you.
thank you for that.
And I just want to say that it's really important for me to visualize it so I can say, okay, this kid is A through G, but they messed up in their math class. So what we're going to do to make sure they get back on track so they can be in that category of A through G to go on to Cal State or Stanford or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm trying to say, but I'm not saying, as I know we have a high graduation rate, so I know they're doing very well, but it's just, I'm hearing it different than I can see it.
Yeah, we can absolutely pull that data and disaggregate it down and share it. But I appreciate the point. Yeah, we're being very successful. Our students are graduating. They're being successful. They're making alternative choices in some cases. They're making conscious choices in some cases to say, I have other options in my academic career as well. And so it's not just 100% A to G. Our high school graduation requirements don't say 100% A to G. So there's a lot of layers to this, including kids who might get a D. And therefore they're not A to G eligible, but they have options for community colleges, and so that's all part of this ongoing conversation. The state here is asking us to giving us some money to specifically look at kids who are not navigating the system and may be missing it very closely, or may not have the information, and to put some other supports around them.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Zamora. Next, we're moving on to human resources. Our first item under human resources is an action item. It's Resolution 2121, number 40, proclaiming May 2nd through May 6th to be National Teacher Appreciation Week and May 3rd as National Teacher Day in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. So I'd like to call on Dr. Adkisson to present the resolution. I feel like that was...
Klatzker, members of the board. Each year, National Teacher Appreciation Week is celebrated in the month of May. This week-long celebration recognizes the contributions that our teachers make not only to education but to society as a whole. California Department of Education recognized May 3rd, 2022 as National Teacher Day, with this year's theme being Teaching is a Work of Heart. It's recommended that Resolution 2021-22, number 40, proclaiming May 2nd through 6, 2022 as National Teacher Appreciation Week, and May 3rd, 2022 as National Teacher Day in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District be adopted.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Chester. Do board members have any questions?
The only thing I wish we would have done this before it happened, and I wish we would have done it when we had an audience full of people to celebrate. So, next time, right?
Yes. Yes. So to any teachers watching, this is for you. And hopefully we have teachers watching, and for our teacher in the audience, teachers in the audience. You were hiding, Angie. I couldn't see you. Sorry. Grace, would you like to start us off with your preferential vote?
I approve.
Thank you very much. Board members, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. I'm going to kick it right back to you, Dr. Atkinson, for the second action item, which is Resolution 2122, number 41, proclaiming May 15th through May 21st to be Classified School Employee Week in Fullerton Joint Union High School District.
President Klatzker. Classified School Employees Week celebrates the support staff and paraprofessionals who are integral to our school's success. These classified staff members often perform behind-the-scenes work that unfortunately too often goes unnoticed. Classified School Employee Week provides us the opportunity to honor and express our appreciation to our district-classified staff members, valuable contributions to the schools and their success. It's recommended that Resolution 2021-22, 41, proclaiming May 15th through 21st, 2022, be classified School Employee Week in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District.
Thank you, Dr. Atkinson. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Chester. Do board members have any questions?
We made it on this one. And don't we need a roll call for a resolution? We did not on the last one. Is that okay?
Oh, do we need to go back and roll call it? Okay, so we'll do a roll call for this one. Okay. Did anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Marilyn, for that catch. I appreciate that. Okay. So, Linda, I'm going to kick it over to you then.
Ms. Klatzker.
Aye.
Ms. Foley.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Gala.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Grace, I didn't ask you if you wanted to cast a preferential vote on that one. I apologize.
I approve.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Okay, now moving on to business services. I would like to open the public hearing on, oh, not yet, I apologize, I jumped. So the next item on the agenda is public hearing 2022 school fee justification survey study. And I'd like to call on Assistant Superintendent Ruben Hernandez to provide information on the justification study. And now I think I have to, does he go or do I go and open it? I apologize. Okay, so I would like to open the meeting for public hearing. If anyone has any comments, please come to the podium and state your name prior to making comments.
Thank you, President Klatzker, members of the board, Dr. McLaughlin. Education Code 17620 authorizes the governing board of school district to levy school fees to offset the impact to school facilities from new residential and commercial/industrial construction and reconstruction. In order to levy level 1 fees, a school district must prepare and adopt a school fee justification study pursuant to the provision of Education Code Section 17620 and Section 65995 and 66001 of the Government Code. The school fee justification study serves as the basis for justifying the levy of level 1 fees and presents and documents the nexus findings required by state law. Tonight we have a representative from Copper and Grubel Public Finance, Mr. Doug Floyd. If you please join us at the podium. And Mr. Floyd is going to report out an update to the study and then open up for any public comments as well as board member comments.
Good evening, President Klatzker, board members, Dr. McLaughlin, district staff, and audience members. Again, my name is Doug Floyd with Copper and Grubel Public Finance. This item, as Mr. Hernandez mentioned, is related to consideration to increase level 1 statutory fees that may be charged against new residential and commercial and industrial construction. The fees are set forth under state law, and are subject to inflationary adjustment in even-numbered years. Just this past February, the State Allocation Board increased the fee amounts by 17% based on the change in a construction cost index, and the recommendation would follow the adoption by the state. Our firm prepared the fee justification study that documents the nexus findings, and that has been available for public inspection since April the 20th. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Go ahead, Vicki.
Okay, so I'm new, so on this whole thing. So are you saying that everything's gone up 17% of everything we've just done from that bond money?
This relates to developer fees that may be charged against new construction within the school district boundaries. So currently, the district charges, I'll just get my notes, it's $1.36 per square foot on new residential construction. And based on the increase that was adopted by the state, if the board approves the fee justification study, those fees would move to $1.60 per square foot and would become effective 60 days later. So the district could then charge the increased fees on any new construction built within the school district boundaries.
So is it safe to say or fair to say that as new houses get built in the area, this is how much money that we can get as a district?
Correct.
Okay. And so the increased costs then could be generated back to the district based on cost escalation, inflation in the area?
That is correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Not Measure I. This is building in and around us,
Oh, okay.
other
That's
builders.
what I want to get clarification on. So it's not the bond money.
It's separate
Okay.
from the bond
Thank
funds.
you.
Our bond money is still safe, working for us.
Yeah, I'm
very
like,
well.
17%.
Very different concept.
Yeah, and these dollars are specifically allocated to continue to assist our maintaining of our facilities. So these dollars that we collect in developer fees are set aside specifically for that. Can't be really used for anything else. It really has a sound structure around how we use these funds.
And it's safe to say, as they build new houses, we get more kids, and we get more kids, it generates more income, not just from attendance, but also from the houses being built, so that we can provide the facilities and resources to them. Am I getting it?
No,
Okay.
absolutely correct.
Is there a commercial increase as well?
There is. The commercial increase is also at 17%. And so that's, I should memorize these fee rates. It would move from 22 cents per square foot to 26 cents per square foot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. That was my question, too. Any other questions from board members? Okay, so this public hearing is actually going to stay open until June 14th. So I'm not going to gavel us out. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Okay, I said thank you, but you're up again. Next up on our agenda is the reserve balance, and Mr. Hernandez is going to give us a presentation on that.
All right, thank you, President Klatzker. So tonight's presentation is to discuss the reserve cap. And so this has been an interesting topic, but before we get into the actual details of that, I just want to set expectations for outcomes. So to have a better understanding of the reserve balance, which is now known as Senate Bill 751, to understand a clear purpose of what the reserve balance is intended for, and what triggered the reserve balance, and how do we keep the district compliant, and then next steps for us as a district. And so in a normal budget year, we go through these processes right here. We do an adopted budget, we go through the year, do the first interim, we go into the second interim, and as we're doing all these updates throughout the year, we're aligning these to the Lcap, making sure that the language written in the Lcap is identified with a dollar amount associated with that language. And as we go through these budget cycles, it also comes with a minimum state requirement to submit a positive certification that the district can prove a reserve for economic uncertainties of over 3%. So what does that mean for us here at Fullerton Joint? Well, here's a narrowed down overview of what our total revenue is, $207 million. Total expenditures, $216.5 million. And then at the very bottom, what is our total ending fund balance? Right now showing an estimated of $49.9 million. Well, how do we get the 3% reserve for economic uncertainty? Well, you take the total expenditures, multiply that by the 3%, and that's how you get to the $6.49 million. So in a normal year, this is typically what the district does. And what the state does is they have this reserve cap test factor. So the state of California will have to go through measures as they do their budget and prep the budget for school districts. And they basically say, we've met these factors to trigger the reserve cap. Now, typically, the maintenance factor is the only item since the inception of this cap to have been met. But then the past handful of years, we've typically seen one or two of the other factors not being met. So, for example, test one is the other factor. So in Prop 98, there's 3 different tests: test 1, test 2, and test 3. Those tests identify how Prop 98 gets distributed to school districts. Test 1 is about 18% of the time, so it's very unique for us to be in a test 1 situation. When we're in a test 1 situation, it requires that the state give us 40%, us meaning K-14 education, that they distribute 40% of their total overall state budget to school districts. And so that's why we rarely see a test 1, and again, 18% of the time is when that typically happens. Test 2 is our normal situation. We see that about 56% of the time. But because test 1 is unusual, they typically have said these reserve caps won't be met. And that's kind of been the message that we've heard from the state. When we're in a test 1 factor, the next thing that the state has to look at is to look at the ADA and COLA. Can they fully fund the COLA for the year, and can they also fund 100% of the ADA based on the test 1 factor calculation? And then the last but not least is the capital gains. So the state has to also take a look at the total taxes generated, and does it exceed 8% of the overall general fund? So this is how the state looks at the factors in regards to, does the reserve cap get triggered for that school year? Historically, that has not been the case. But fast forward, and the COVID factor, right? So everything changed the past couple of years with COVID, the prediction of the uncertainty of dollars coming to school districts, and then all of a sudden this influx of dollars coming our way, whether it was from the federal side or the state side. And with that came to Mr. Zamora's presentation, another plan, another a wave of money coming our way, right? So here's a list, and I apologize for the small content on there, but here's a list of all COVID-related funds, whether it came from the federal side or came from the state side. And as you can see, it's a long list, and a lot of those in that list were plans that from Ed Services, Dr. Zamora Mr. Zamora and Dr. Kaufman had to put together and present to the board. And so what does that mean for us overall? Well, all those plans, all those dollar amounts have to be spent in a certain time frame, have to be allocated and spent in a specific manner as it's been given to us. It's almost going back to previous method in which we received our money, which for some of us who recall that, it was called the revenue limit, and we received money in a categorical format where they said you had to spend it in a specific way, right? That's what all these dollars really did for us here. Now, so if we take a look at the very bottom there, you see that the total amount allocated across all these funds is over $55 million, and it's ranging anywhere from having to be spent already or having up until the year 2026 to spend those monies down, right? And in each of these categories, it's a different date in which those monies have to be spent, and at the same time have to be reported back either to the federal government or to the state. And so those are the things that we've been navigating during the COVID factor. So I just wanted to circle back to the reserve cap test factors. And so in this area, you can see that now the state, looking at the year 21-22, the state had came back and said, we've paid down the wall of debt, is what they call the maintenance factor. That's been paid off since 14-15. We're in a test 1 environment. And on top of that, we've committed to 100% of the COLA, and we can fully fund ADA. And we've exceeded our capital gains and our tax revenue collections, right? So the last piece of the pie was, could the state deposit 3% of the total overall Prop 98 dollars into what they call the Educational Rainy Day Fund, and they did that as well. So because all those things were triggered for this school year, it has now required school districts now to manage or navigate the reserve cap concept. And so this is something that the state will do annually going forward. If all these continue to stay met, so to speak, it will require us to review this annually as well too. So what is the reserve cap? Well, it was initially introduced under Proposition 2 back in 2014. And I didn't want to get into the details of how that was presented just because it looks a lot different now. But just so that you have an understanding of what Proposition 2 was asking, was that it was going to ask all school districts up and down California to, on average, put a cap of about 6%. Now, a lot of people recognize that that was kind of a hard cap, and it would be difficult for districts to navigate. So then, fast forward 3 years later, Senate Bill 751 came out and created some additional reprieve for some school districts. For example, if you're a smaller school district with less than 2,500 students of ADA, you were exempt. If you're a basic A district, you were exempt. And then it also changed the cap. The cap just went straight to a 10% threshold as opposed to a calculation. Each district would have had a different calculation. We could have been a 6, we could have been a 5, but no more than a 6, right? And so with the new changes, it basically went district-wide. If you're not exempt, you're stuck with this 10% cap rule. And then the bottom bullet point is it's just more of a clarification for us as we navigate this. How do you calculate the 10%? What's included in it? What is excluded from that? And really what it looks at is it looks at our general fund specifically and what they call our special reserve fund, which is typically Fund 17. Everything else is excluded from that process. So what does this mean for us moving forward? Well, we have two options. One is we spend down these dollars below the 10% cap by June 30th, 2022. So within the next 8 weeks, these dollars would have to be spent down below 10%. Or option number 2 for us would be create a resolution to designate funds that gets us below the 10%, right? So when we, there we go. So what does that mean for us as we try to navigate this new idea of a resolution to identify what that 10% cap is for us? Well, the way we go about doing that is we take a look at our total expenditures and we multiply that by 10%, and anything above that is the dollar amounts that we actually have to adopt within a resolution to commit those dollars for future projects, whatever those may be. In this case, our ending fund balance represents 49.9 million. The 10% cap threshold for us right now is indicated as 21.6, and the difference between those two would require a resolution of approximately $28.3 million. So our recommendation for the board's discussion would be on the right-hand side, same sort of formula approach with the 9% cap as opposed to the 10. And the reason why recommending the 9% cap is so that way we take into consideration what's in Fund 17, which is our special reserve fund. Those dollars, plus when we close books, there's always a fraction of those dollars. For example, services that weren't rendered that we didn't have to pay for, or goods that we were looking to purchase for whatever reason we couldn't do it in a timely manner for this particular year. So by the time we close our books, there's typically a dollar amount that falls to the bottom line. And if we didn't account for a cushion for that possibility, it would put us in a situation where we wouldn't be complying with at least meeting the 10% cap rule. And so recommending 9% gives us a little bit of that flexibility because we already have to account for the dollars in that special reserve fund. And then it allows us, while we're closing the books, to cover for any funds that fall to the bottom line as well. And so as we were going through this process and looking at our current programs, we were looking at all of those, the COVID factor, right? All those additional one-time dollars that we were getting from the state, and trying to figure out, well, what would make sense in regards to our resolution, and how do we commit these dollars so that we can earmark them appropriately? The first thing we really wanted to look at was our district programs, looking at all these one-time dollars that we have in those federal and state one-time dollars that were received through COVID. And what we recognized was that there was a lot of overlap that we were doing. We're enhancing programs that we currently had that existed. We were building on certain areas, whether it was staffing to support those types of programs. In this particular slide here, we talk a lot about teachers on special assignment, mental health clinicians, increasing instructional aides at each site, just a bunch of different staffing to help and enhance those programs that exist at our schools right now. And then the next part is our pathways, our programs. Is we still have ongoing grants that we receive on an annual basis to continue to support all of our pathways. And so that was another way we wanted to just point out, these things are not being missed. These things are continuing to be sustained either through grants or continued support of those one-time dollars that we received from the state and federal. As well as it's in our Lcap. We have an ongoing approach to continue to sustain and maintain these topics. And last but not least, those programs that are being supported by those one-time dollars were also already called out in our Lcap. So when those one-time dollars go away, those programs will continue to live on. And here's another list of what those programs look like in the Lcap as it currently lives. And I know the Lcap will be an item we'll bring back to the June 14th board meeting, and all these items are on there, as well as a continued discussion about how do we continue to develop the Lcap for the programs that we have currently on campuses. But as you can see here, we have AVID, the opportunity program at La Vista. We have, going down the list, we have mental health support, tutoring, education and technology, professional learning. These are all just continued program enhancements that we see ongoing within our Lcap. And so after reviewing all those items, we wanted to just kind of take a look at what district priorities would be as we have a conversation and discussion around what the resolution should look like as we commit those dollars. And so the first things that really pop to mind is currently the tentative agreement that we have with both associations, identifying those future one-time payouts, identifying the increased medical costs that will happen over the course of the next 3 years, and then continue to sustain some of those program enhancements, as well as maintaining our facilities. And so I know Measure I is coming to its end, and we have those earmarked projects already. We just heard about developer fees, we'll continue to support, but we also recognize there's sometimes greater needs in regards to our facilities that are out there. And then obviously, as we navigate economic uncertainty in the future, it's always good to set aside dollars to support us in that, as we experienced as a district. Going back to the Great Recession, we navigated that greatly because of those dollars that we had set aside in reserves to support that process. And so what does that mean from a dollar perspective? These are just rough round numbers that would be identified in each of these categories. But the resolution is a living document. If the board so chooses to spend those dollars a little bit differently, all we would have to do is come back and bring another resolution in front of the board to discuss different district priorities if these didn't live or sit well in our moment, because as times change, we have to navigate those times, and it gives us that flexibility to do so. So as you can see here, the dollar amounts listed next to each of these district priorities gets us to a total of that $30.5 million, which is the dollar amount from the recommendation of having the 9% cap, right? And so that brings us to next steps. So board discussion at this point, so you can help us and give us direction in regards to developing what that resolution would look like, and we would bring that back at the June board meeting for adoption at that point. And that concludes my presentation. I can take any questions at this point.
Do board members have any questions?
Did the COVID money, the one-time money, throw us into the GAN limit arena? No.
It did not, no.
Okay.
The state, on the other hand, is going to be dealing with their own GAN limit issue, and that'll either come back to us as a taxpayer rebate somehow, or they can pay down other debt and help school districts in a different way. So we're waiting to hear how the state's going to navigate the GAN issue at the state level. But no, it didn't impact us in any sort of way.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
So let me just clarify. So what we're going to do then on June 14th is bring back a full resolution, identifying, similar to what, if you go back one slide, whoever has the button pusher, was working so well. This is ongoing. There, oh, no, it is. There it goes. Somewhere in this neighborhood, which identifies a resolution for this type of situation. And again, this is something that can be revisited at the board's purview as we go throughout the year. And if the state continues to be in this situation, we'll come back again in future years.
I do have another question, Steve. The top two future salary agreement, are you talking about the next 3 years or beyond the next 3 years?
Yes, and so in the tentative agreement right now, we have the 2 out years in the 3-year agreement have one-time payments. And so the future salary agreement is in reference to those dollars specifically.
Thank you.
And their references futures because they're currently in process and will be pending board approval, assuming a positive outcome.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the adjustment from the 10 to the 9% because I think it anticipates and keeps us from having to come back and revisit should we be over that limit. So I just want to say I appreciate the recommendation for 9% to be proactive.
Yes, absolutely. And the other part of that is to Dr. McLaughlin's point, it's the board's purview. We can come back anytime we want, but if we're compliant and there's no need for us to come back, the flexibility of that 9% gives us that as we're navigating closing of the book. So absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda is the consent calendar. I know that we pulled item 7.1.4, I believe, if memory serves. Are there any items board members would like pulled additionally? Okay. The following item is confidential and will be voted on separately. Item 7.3.13, settlement agreement dated April 20th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the settlement agreement?
Move approval.
Thank you, Marilyn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chester. Do board members have any questions? Okay, so, we'll call for a vote, then I don't need to do a roll call, do I? Just, okay.
You have resolutions in here.
Thank you. Even for the settlement agreement, which is separate?
We're just voting on the settlement agreement.
Sorry,
We're still on the settlement agreement? So we don't need to, okay, thank you, that's what I thought. No, I wanna make sure we do it correctly, thank you. So, board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so, motion has passed for, approval of the settlement agreement. There are resolutions on the consent calendar, so we'll need to call for a roll call vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 7.3.13 and the 7.14?
I move.
Thank you, Joanne. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chester. Do board members or the student board member have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Grace, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board members, we'll do a roll call.
Ms. Basker?
Aye?
Ms. Foley?
Aye.
Dr. Kaufman?
Aye.
Grace's last vote.
It was, Grace, that was your last vote.
Oh. Should've had trumpets or something.
Congratulations. Next on our agenda is board member and superintendent comments. Are there any comments from the board members? Okay.
Grace, your last shot. Any words of wisdom? On the way out, we'll give you the last word tonight.
I just want to say thank you to all the board members and all the presidents for supporting me, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds, and I think I'll use my experiences as a student board member in college and beyond.
And let us
Yeah,
know what you're
thank
doing.
you. Yes, I will keep everyone updated.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
you, Grace.
Grace.
If I could just say really quickly, earlier today, we got to recognize our retirees in the district. And so I just want to give one last shout out to all of those wonderful members of our Fullerton joint family who are retiring, and recognize them for their years of service and their work to help us and to serve kids. Dr. McLaughlin?
Nothing for me. Anybody else?
Okay,
Well,
Dr. Jenkins?
go ahead.
Well, as we come to the end of the school year, I want to thank all the administrators, the site administrators and the district and all of our teachers and staff for their hard work. And this year is very special. We went through possibilities of going back to hybrid, going back to online, but we didn't, thank goodness. And I want to thank everyone for toughing it out this year. And good luck to the students. They got final exams coming up. And afterwards, have a good summer.
Yeah, and ceremony of graduation.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are going to recess now to close session to continue discussion on the items previously mentioned.